like, how do you stand out and differentiate yourself beyond your elevator pitch, beyond your slides? Because I'm learning that a lot of founders aren't really used to this idea that your pitch and all of that needs to happen not just to investors and not with slides. You have to be able to appeal to everybody, and even for that digital signal that you put out there, using people to your website or your social media, that actually plays a huge role. Who'll even stop by your table.
So what's your take on my guidance or lack of guidance to the just as far as how I want you all to pick people? Because it's pretty much like do your own fucking thing, right?
Yeah, it was. I kind of liked that, because I do think that that's kind of the equalizer, right? Because going back to that example of like, if you were exhibiting at a booth or whatever, nobody, how do I put this? Whether you're an investor or a customer, it's very rare that somebody tells you, here's how to score everybody at the conference you're going to, right? You have to think about that yourself based off of what you're looking for and who and what appeals to you and meet like your needs or what you're interested in, right? So I know some people definitely would have wanted like maybe more like a rubric. I wouldn't say like the judges, but maybe more just like if you're somebody who's applying. Like,
they ask for like, what are we going to judge on? Like, they're doing what they want to do, right? That did frustrate some of them. Like, well, what are we supposed to prepare for? Like, that's up to you, right?
Yeah, and I'm a customer-centric person, so I think of it from the customer perspective. Like, don't come ready to close me as an investor. Come ready to, like, even if I can't be a customer, I want to have the kind of experience with you where it's like, I will refer you to somebody that I think would be a customer to you, right?
Yeah. The one thing, some of the people that kind of complain, like, all the judges didn't see me. I told them, like, but I didn't see you go try to get them, right? Like, if you know the judge's supposed to end at 2 o'clock, these two judges didn't get you. Should have say, hey, Sarah, you haven't seen me yet. Come talk to me, right? But I don't think any of them did that.
Well, not that, but like I said, you sent out all of the information and their websites ahead of time, right? And
also all the judges post all the judges stuff too out there.
Yes, true.
So I knew what the judges were.
Yeah, but also I think the other thing too is I think folks aren't used to it being competitive in that sense because it's like, Doppel, that's a killer technology.
Yeah, I actually told Ryan, like, if you lost this, maybe you should need to quit doing this, right?
I was going to say, that's...
because you definitely had tech, and it was based on tech, right? And they definitely had the best tech there.
Yeah, exactly. It was on the best tech. And I think some folks were like, everybody... And I think this is an interesting conversation we should have. You and I was just telling you about that GeekWire article, right? Where it's like, why doesn't Seattle have unicorns, right? I think this is kind of like a cultural, like a part of that, right? Because like you said, this was about tech. Unicorns and that kind of stuff, sometimes it'll come down to the tech in a way where people are like, oh, it's all about the team and the founder. Well, back up. Wait a second. If you're a customer, et cetera, do you really care about the team and the founder if the tech isn't impressive to you or can't do anything for you? Like, no, it becomes like a moot point. So I know some folks are like, you should be able to, every founder should be able to talk to a judge and be able to pitch and sell them on their tech. But the way that the market works is that I don't really have time. The market says, why would I talk to a founder if it's not obvious to me that their tech is useful or their tech is like a fit? In this case, it's like you would have to have had tech when you looked at all the websites that would go beyond what the impact that Doppel was going to have in the world. So I think in that way, I totally would get the frustration if you're one of the other booths, because it's like, these people got a patient and a gown.
They went all out, right?
Yeah, they went all out. And so, and like I said, it's competitive, but the market can be competitive that way too. I do also take the point that the categories are different, right? When you think about, there was remind me of the name of the other startup that was there for the ear infection checks.
I think it's Waverly Diagnostics.
Yes, so this diagnostics group, they have an apparatus where you could check your kids' ear infections from a phone, right? And it's like, I love, is it Takamori?
Yeah.
I love Takamori Robotics, right?
Yeah.
The thing though is that my kids had more ear infections than like room for robots, right? And that's how the market goes. That's kind of like where it could get really tough as well, right? Is that like you have a thing that like a toy, a learning, an education thing, and then you have stuff that's like your kid could lose their hearing if you don't address it, and here's a solution for that, right?
Exactly.
So I totally get how maybe folks were like, you know what, maybe we should put the health and life sciences people over here, and then maybe the more like leisure consumer electronics kind of thing over there. I think that might be valid feedback.
Yeah. Another thing too, like most countries, like this first, I know no first over this one winner.
No.
No second, third is too much. Like pick one winner.
That you did make that hard on us. I want everyone to know we wanted power ranking. And Jason was like, nope, there can only be one. It's like Highlander.
Only be one, yeah. Yeah, it's a good time though, yeah. And think even like you don't win a contest like that, that's the audience that we provided them, right? For some social media, people walking through there. So even if you didn't win, hopefully those people took advantage of it.
Yeah, you know what I think kinds of events, because, we think about some of this next gen stuff at Barklow. One of the things we've been thinking about is, for like, if you're Gen Z or Gen Alpha, you don't go to conferences and look at booths. Like that whole example I just gave you about Keiretsu and all that. Like the younger generation, that's not a thing. They vibe check you, as they say. They fit check you and they vibe check you online. And they're like, I'm not putting on pants to go like look at everybody's booths, right? And so we kind of think about like what would be like the channel in that kind of reach. I do think this is where the like social media, like digital first thing is a really big deal, because we definitely have a younger generation in this attention economy where like it's like they're not going to sit there and listen to a pitch, as we would call it, but they'll watch your TikTok, right? They'll watch they'll scroll, they'll lose 2 hours a day looking at different TikToks, right? But are they going to like look at slides? Are they going to look at a pitch? Are they going to look like at a demo and like your IP moat competes? No, they're not going to do that. So that's something my co-founder and I think about, is like, how do we get that reach to a younger generation? Not necessarily because like Gen Alpha is old enough to be accredited investors, but because from a talent pipeline perspective, you want their engagement, especially like in frontier tech where we operate. You want to show up and get on their radar, because the jobs of the future, a lot of kids don't even have vocabulary. A lot of adults in America, they don't even have vocabulary for what do you want to be when you grow up that actually matches the future economy. So we think of it less from everybody's after investors and customers, which is great. But if you're after like talent and starting people early and catching us up on that qualification pipeline, that's where we're kind of thinking about like, oh man, we got to think more beyond demo days and pitch days and booths to reach that younger generation.
So another thing I'm proud of about the conference, about the event I had too, like I told you about the one person really got hired by Doppel.
Yeah.
There was actually 3 other people got hired at the conference. That's a different network, right? So,
there you go.
Yeah.
Isn't it ironic that sometimes if you have like an event that's like, we want people want network to get hired, it doesn't happen, then you have an event about something else.
Yeah, like has everyone ever got fired at a job fair? I don't think so.
I have not. Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting how that happens organically. When you kind of create that sort of convening. But yeah, I had a really good time. I had a great time. I think that the whole thing about like the founder dynamics and like who's like the attendees, like who's the judge. I think that really gets into, there's like the whole thing of incubators and accelerators. And in some ways, how do I put this? It's almost like stage management and finishing school, like for entrepreneurs, right? And I think that that's interesting because an event like yours, and I'm saying this as somebody who's founder, investor, operator of a venture studio, and I've done these types of events for Barklow. It really is kind of like a audition and boot camp that you're not going to get from the incubator accelerator courses. Exactly. Right? Because the incubator accelerator courses will tell you how to stay on script and how to this, how to that. But when you're actually like in it in real time, and you're getting so many different types of questions about like what you do. Like how many different various feedback each startup get, right? Exactly, right? And then also like how much of that, here's another thing I noticed too. There was the brainwave startup. Thinky, right? Yeah. Shout out to Thinky. I saw them at the Keiretsu's expo as well, right? Doing a great job. What I love about that founder was, you're going to have all kinds of people come in and out. They don't know anything about your business. They're just asking questions. And he was just such a good sport. No matter what question he got, no matter like what feedback, they're like, oh, isn't this like that other Muse thing? Or that people would bring up his competitors. He's like, well, yeah, he goes, it's similar, but it's a bit different, and here's how, right? And so he just had such a great attitude and perspective about it. And just that how many hours was that? Like 12 to 4. Yeah, so like he was like 2 or 3 hours in, and he was still just fresh like that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like it didn't like have like any wear and tear on it. See, that's the kind of thing you can't really like teach per se. No. Like that's what you talk about, the interview with audition thing you talked about earlier. Yeah, like that's an audition. Like that's somebody who's good at an audition. They're able to improv, right? No matter what questions come to them, they're not taking offense. People would like give them a suggestion, like, oh, have you tried this or have you pitched this? He goes, I've tried this and this, but say more about what you're thinking, right? And that really impressed me about him, because it is not uncommon, as you know, to come across founders that are like, I want feedback. I want people to try out my product. And one person says something that like they've already made up their mind they're not going to do, or they disagree with. And they're just immediately like, well, I'm not going to boil the ocean. Or they're like, I've already told 100 people, I'm not telling anyone else about this. Yeah. Or like, well, like if if you ask that question, then you clearly don't know enough about like my tech or my startup or whatever, right? And it's just like, okay, I mean, I get it. Like, I can get a little crispy around the edges at the end of the day too. Like, I totally get it. But I do think that how you show up in those dynamics, especially over a long period of time, because expos are a long time, conferences are multiple days. You go to global conferences, you're jet lagged, right? And like, how do you still show up well? And so that was one founder in particular who really like impressed me with how he's handling folks.
And people